Waters are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
A bit earlier at about 7 a.m., a group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #Create Vote 2013.
Today on Rappler, the death toll from Typhoon Yolanda, international name Haiyan, reaches 3,621, higher than the president's estimates. As aid begins to reach survivors, President Aquino tells volunteers the country needs you. And economic officials say the destruction will cut the Philippines' growth. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Exactly 1 week ago today, strong winds whipped tsunami-like waves and demolished large parts of the Visayas, killing thousands. Experts say it's the strongest typhoon to hit land, Typhoon Yolanda, international name Haiyan. Latest government data show the death toll at 3,621, with 1,140 people missing. The figure is now higher than the estimates of President Aquino, who earlier told CNN about 2,000 to 2,500 were killed in the aftermath of the typhoon, significantly lower than earlier estimate of 10,000. The bulk of the casualties happened in the eastern Visayas, where at least 3,422 are killed. Eastern Visayas is made up of the two main islands of Leyte and Samar, which suffered the brunt of the storm. A week since the disaster, much-needed aid finally begins to reach survivors of the super typhoon. Nearly 50,000 food packs reach victims in Tacloban City, one of the hardest-hit areas. More than 100,000 hygiene kits will also be deployed. International aid is pouring in with food, supplies, and the manpower to deliver them. The U.S., Japan, Australia, and the UK send planes to bring aid to far-flung areas. This comes after criticism the government is inefficient in relief and aid efforts. The priority now is to reach the victims and assist survivors. National government and international aid workers race to deliver aid to remote areas that have gone for days without supplies. Despite the outpouring of support, more help is needed. The United Nations estimates the Philippines will need $301 million for the rehabilitation and recovery of more than 11.5 million affected people. The relationship between the Philippines and the United States has swung from love and hate at different times, but the crisis in the eastern Visayas proves a friendship that goes back stands. Carmela Fonbuena reports.
They lost everything: houses, possessions. Worst of all, they lost loved ones. Still, they were lucky to survive the strongest typhoon recorded and luckier to get a seat on board a C-130 plane.
Saka yung bahay namin na was out. Saka yung mga kamag-anak namin nagpatay. Mga anak nila, mga 16 ang patay. Saka kaya napunta kami rito at saka nanghihingi kami ng tulong sa mga kamag-anak namin dito.
The faces are different but the stories are the same. 50-year-old Ulderico Diaz is from Guian, Eastern Samar. He's among 2,500 survivors who landed in Villamor Air Base in Manila.
Ang tubig sa amin, umabot ng 100 feet. Ang taas kasi nasa tabi ng dagat kami. Sa Pacific Ocean. Kinarga ko dito sa balikat ko yung apo ko. At saka papunta kami doon sa nabagsak na lubi. At umano kami doon, kumabir habang malakas ang hangin. Pagkatapos, pag madaling araw na, pumunta kami doon sa bundok. At saka tumago doon kami sa kuiba. Kasi langoy lang kasi wala naman kaming mapuntan talaga. Yung sipalaran na lang sa amin kung mabuhay kami o patay, basta.
Ulderico left his wife and 6 children and fought to get a seat on the cargo plane. He says he will return with food to feed his hungry family. It's been a week since Yolanda devastated the Visayas. There is plenty of aid, but it's not reaching the people who need it the most. The Americans were among the first to send aid, immediately flying in C-130 planes and Osprey aircrafts to support the 3 C-130s of the Philippine Air Force. The Americans will now move their aid and resources to the neglected towns of Eastern Samar.
I think we can say that there's good distribution now happening through many areas that may have not seen distribution before. Helicopters. All of those assets are now moving resources from Tacloban out to multiple points. I think 16 or 18 different drop points yesterday.
Joint Filipino and American exercises had prepared for a scenario like Haiyan.
Clearly, we're working shoulder and shoulder with the Philippine government, with the Philippine people, trying to work our way through the suffering. This reflects our dedication to a good friend and a good ally in the Philippines.
The Americans brought in so much in resources, it's a running joke. They're building a base here. Proponents of increased U.S. presence in the Philippines say this is a clear example of the benefits of the deal. The critics are quiet in the face of hard realities. The country badly needs its American friends now. Carmela Fonbuena, Rappler, Manila.
Days after, with little to no aid coming in, some victims of Typhoon Yolanda are choosing to leave their homes. They think it's a better chance to survive. Bea Cupin files this video blog.
As government and international groups scramble to bring relief goods and aid to those ravaged by Typhoon Yolanda, worried family members find their own way to save their loved ones. Benilda Carpesa and 9 others who call Marabot their own town shelled out 24,000 pesos to bring 18 townmates, including 3-week-old twins Andre and Andrew, to Manila.
Yung budget po namin, ginalaw po namin para lang po makarating dito sa barangay po namin. Wala po talagang pangkabuhayan na talaga ng matitira. Kung ano, kasi po yung pangkabuhayan lang po doon, nyug lang. Yun lang po yung maasahan at saka sa dagat, pangingisda. Eh wala na po talagang matitira doon. Kung yun po yung hihintayin, gutom po talaga yung...
Mahirap kasi syempre lalo na sa akin may baby. Ayun, nakakaya naman, pero syempre walang pagkain, ginugutom na, lagi na ito na sumususo sa akin. Minsan iniiyak kasi syempre kinukulang sa gatas.
That's why Benilda, who relies on her husband's income, says it's a price they're willing to pay for their peace of mind. Bea Cupin, Rappler, Matnog.
A Rappler team is headed to Tacloban City in Leyte by land. This 24-hour trip will take them through provinces heavily devastated by the super typhoon. You can track their travel on the map on Rappler. Joining us now on the line is Rappler's Paterno Esmaquiel, who's on board a ferry to northern Samar. Paterno, what have you seen and where are you right now?
Maria, we just came from the Matnog port in Sorsogon. We just arrived at the Allen port in northern Samar. At the Matnog port, Maria, up to 5,500 people are waiting for a chance to cross over to the Visayas so that they can meet or fetch their relatives who were victimized by Super Typhoon Yolanda. At the Matnog port, we also saw oil tankers, electricity providers who would also like to cross over to the Visayas so they can repair basic services here. Officials at the port say the 5,500 people there exceed the daily average number of passengers that's at 2,500. Maria, it's a sign of unease among these people after the government and other aid workers have so far failed to deliver relief goods to many affected areas, Maria.
As you're traveling down that road, what do you see change in the mood of the people?
Maria, from the zone area, we could see the unease of people because they are uncertain about what they will see once they cross over to the Visayas and meet their relatives. Some of them say they don't know if their relatives are still alive. But here in the Visayas, people coming from the Visayas show a sense of relief after having rescued the relatives or having met them. We met them a while ago, and as Bea reported in her vlog, these people are very, very happy to see their relatives again and to bring them to Manila finally after Yolanda, Maria.
What about the state of the road, gasoline? What about these essentials? Before we get to the Sorsogon port, the roads are very are regular, are not damaged,
But here in the Visayas, we will in the parts of the Visayas that were damaged by Yolanda, like in the eastern Samar region and the later part of this island, we can see the damaged roads in Maria, and we still don't have electricity here in northern Samar. We will spend 6 hours traveling from this place to Tacloban to see more effects of Yolanda in this province, Maria.
What about power? Are you seeing any changes in terms? I mean, has power been affected so far in the areas you've been traveling through?
Well, Maria, here in the Visayas, many areas still don't have electricity. They're still using candlelight. Even the commercial areas here, like hotels, run short of electricity, Maria.
And what about
the government is still scrambling to bring back the electricity in these areas.
And in terms of what you're hearing now from the people you're speaking with, any news about Eastern Samar or Tanawan?
Maria, the aid workers are trying to reach these areas right now, but the problem really is the damaged roads and the lack of communication in many areas. We understand that some mobile service providers have restored communication lines in many areas, but there still remain some isolated areas that need communication and need proper roads, Maria.
Paterno, as you move closer, you're still in a part that isn't as heavily damaged as the areas you'll be going into in the next few hours tomorrow. As you move closer to that area, do you feel any perceptible change within the people?
Maria, we will get to meet them tomorrow, but as far as what I saw in Eastern Samar, these people are really waiting for aid and for communication with their relatives, especially those abroad, because that is really a main source of unease among these people. The lack of communication and the lack of, they don't know if people really know about them and know about their needs.
And the last question, Paterno, is in terms of the aid workers who are also traveling on the road with you, what do they believe? How well prepared are they now for where you're headed?
Maria, the aid workers still depend largely on the government because, of course, the aid workers will need to coordinate closely with the local governments and the national government. And we understand, based on the stories today, that this remains to be a big problem. The bureaucracy and the bottlenecks that prevent aid from reaching isolated areas in the Visayas.
Okay, that's Paterno Asmaquel on the road to Tacloban. Thank you, Paterno. President Benigno Aquino pauses from managing a national calamity to visit relief operation hubs and thank volunteers for their service. On Thursday, Aquino visits the Villamor Air Base in Pasay City and the Army headquarters in Taguig. The president thanks volunteers repacking relief goods to be sent to typhoon survivors. In his visit, Aquino thanks volunteers and explains how important their work is to relief efforts. He reminds the volunteers more than 1.4 million people still have no food and water, do not have electricity, and have lost loved ones to the world's strongest typhoon.
Tingnan lang ho dyan, yung isang food pack na naibuo nyo, parang 2 araw na hong pagkakasain ng bawat pamilya. So bawat isang pamilya na tutulungan natin. So maraming salamat.
He also asks them to encourage others to join relief efforts to help speed up operations.
Malaking tulong ho talaga to para makalma mga tao doon, para hindi maging desperado. Tandaan po natin, halos 1 linggo na rin ho yung pinagdadaanan nila. Wala akong madaling solusyon.
Despite criticism about the slow relief effort, Aquino says the government is doing all it can to help the victims. Tacloban City buries the dead for the first time on Thursday at the Basper Public Cemetery. All 110 bodies were unidentified. Officials say it is a temporary burial to allow relatives to exhume the bodies later and identify them. Fearing the possibility of disease, survivors asked government authorities to bury the dead. The World Health Organization says disposing dead bodies during disasters is important, not because of the disease, but mainly because of the psychological trauma the bodies may cause to those, quote, witnessing death on a large scale. When Typhoon Yolanda cut through the Philippines, it was the powerful winds and storm surges as high as 7 meters that caused much of the damage. A week later, the government admits it could have warned people better about the danger. Communications Secretary Sonny Coloma says the people of Samar and Leyte are used to typhoons, but they didn't understand what storm surges can do. He adds, this was really the first time they experienced a storm surge which could have been explained as a tsunami. In an earlier CNN interview, Tacloban City Mayor Alfred Romualdez said using the word tsunami in the warning may have meant more survivors. State Weather Bureau Pagasa also says more could have been done in explaining the magnitude and gravity of a storm surge. Assistant Weather Services Chief Maria Cecilia Monteverde says the Bureau regularly conducts information and education campaigns, but she says they also need response and action from local governments and their communities. While some people would think twice about donating, a preschooler from Japan acts. He dumps his piggy bank and donates it to the victims of Typhoon Yolanda. 6-year-old Shochi Kondo visits the Philippine Embassy in Tokyo to personally hand a donation of 5,000 yen, roughly 2,173 pesos. The embassy says the money came from Shoichi's savings. He chose to donate the money after seeing photos of the massive devastation in the Philippines. International aid is pouring in for the victims. More food and supplies like rice, water, canned goods, clothes, toiletries, and medicines are still needed. Communities all over the world are also organizing relief drives to help survivors. Relief efforts are ongoing in places like the United States, the UK, Spain, and Australia. Rappler is compiling and updating a list of relief efforts for the typhoon victims. Take a look at Rappler's list on this page to see all the different ways you can help. Every little action counts. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, says the massive destruction caused by Yolanda will cut the Philippines' economic growth rate this year. In a statement Friday, NEDA Director General Arsenio Balisacan says the typhoon's effects will likely reduce fourth quarter gross domestic product growth by as much as 0.8 percentage point. The Philippines is expected to grow by only 4.1% in the fourth quarter. Before the typhoon struck, the Philippine economy was projected to grow over 7%. Balisacan says this forecast is now brought down to 6.5% to 7%. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 8, U.S. President Barack Obama admits he deserved to be, quote, slapped around over the chaotic debut of his healthcare law. With his approval rating tanking, Obama promises to fix the website and coverage failures that hampered the rollout of his signature health reform law. But Republican House Majority Leader Eric Cantor says the president needs to admit that Obamacare, quote, cannot be fixed. Figures released Wednesday show only 106,185 people registered, 1.5% of the number the administration planned to recruit by March 2014. At number 9, messaging service Snapchat turns down a $3 billion offer from Facebook. The Wall Street Journal reports several other investors are interested in acquiring Snapchat. Chinese e-commerce giant Tencent Holdings offers to lead an investment that would value the 2-year-old Snapchat at $4 billion. Snapchat specializes in ephemeral mobile messages that disappear after a few seconds. The service hasn't generated any revenue, but it's popular among teenagers. And at number 10, Brazil's environment minister urges action to reverse alarming rates of deforestation in some Amazon regions in the past year. Environment Minister Isabella Teixeira confirms a 28% increase in the rate of deforestation, reaching 5,843 square kilometers. Extensive farming and soybean production are blamed for the rise, but monitoring by the federal state authorities has also been lax. Agricultural production giant Brazil is caught between environmental pressures and the interests of large-scale farmers. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most. These 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meter If you take a look today, over the last few days, it's been a week since Yolanda hit, it's largely been this, sad. This one, an amazing story of survival, surfing Haiyan's waves for survival, 46% sad, also inspired because she used her surfboard to ride the wave, literally. Here's one that is again sad and angry. No food for 4 days in Giwan Island, 60% sad, 29% angry. And the story that's gotten the most number of votes, this one, Mar Rojas to CNN, no response fast enough, connected to the back and forth between CNN and ABS-CBN's Katerina Sanchez, the wife of Mar Rojas. You see an interesting 7% sad, 7% annoyed, and a whopping 76% angry, raising the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. That is Rappler's newscast for today, Friday, November 15, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. Exactly 1 week ago, the Philippines was hit by its worst disaster in recent history. It took at least 5 days before food and water started reaching people who survived the storm, but the struggle to deal with its aftermath seems much more difficult. 1 week later, the extent of the damage is still unclear. On Saturday, November 16th, join us in a special presentation with a live look at the situation in Tacloban City. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.